Call the meeting
Recording
to order.
in progress.
The Cupertino City regular meeting. Today is Tuesday, June 6, 2023. If you are able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Madam City Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Chow,
Here.
Councilmember Fruin,
Here.
Councilmember Moore,
Here.
Vice Mayor Mohan,
Here.
Mayor Way.
Here. Thank you. There is no closed session report, and I'm going to go to a ceremonial matters. As a part of the ceremonial matters, I'd like to acknowledge that the city of Cupertino proclaimed June as LGBTQ plus Pride Month and hosted a flag-raising ceremony to honor the achievements of our LGBTQ plus community and to celebrate diversity. Let us recognize the efforts of the activists, organizers, and trailblazers who paved the way for progress we see today. But also let's continue to work together for full equality, dismantling barriers, and ensuring that every person, regardless of sexual orientation or gender identity, can and will live safely among all of us. I like to make sure that we, as Cupertino and the surrounding communities and the United States of America, we continue to value our LGBTQ families and friends. Thank you. Now I'm moving to postponements and orders of the day. I would like to propose a order of the day. We have consent agenda number 4, consider executing agreement between the City of Cupertino and the Cupertino Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to pull it out and move it to right after 11, right after our public hearing. So may I have a second?
Second.
It's being moved and seconded. Let's get vote by light, please.
Question. Isn't consent right after? What do you mean?
I'm pulling a before, so before the right after the hearing, before the active items. That's why I do a order of the day. So because it make a little bit not as
Before the consent.
no, right
Mayor,
after
Mayor, your
11.
mic is not on.
Oh, sorry. Right after 11.
So it's after the consent.
Yes, after consent. After our public hearing, we have a public hearing on that. Before the action calendar.
So that means the item is pulled?
Yes, I pulled it and reordered it. And
Oh, but usually when it's pulled, it's considered afterwards.
Right. That's
But
why
then
I
you
reordered
want
it.
to put it before. So it's reordered to right after consent
Yes, no, but also after the public hearing, we have a public
and
hearing.
public hearing. Oh, okay.
The motion carries with more voting no.
Okay, thank you. Now we're moving to oral communications. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons wishing to address the council on any matter within the jurisdiction of the council and not on the agenda for discussion, including information items. Do we have any cards here and the people on Zoom?
Yes, Mayor, I have four speaker cards for speaker card requests for Community Hall,
Okay.
and let's see, on Zoom we have 3 hands raised.
Okay, please call the City Hall. Thank you, Madam City Clerk.
All right, so first we have Jennifer Griffin, followed by Rhoda Fry, followed by Juan Ochoa. Welcome, Jennifer.
Good evening, City Council. Hi, I'm Jennifer Griffin, and I just wanted to talk about, I think, 2 items tonight. The first one is I'm really hoping that we can get the Stockelmeyer House on the road to being used for a useful agenda center and also for a learning experience for our school children in this city. If you all were not aware, over the last several days, the house in Pacific Grove that was used in the movie A Summer Place burned. It was an 1890 gorgeous home that had been in the, I think it was Troy Donahue, and I forgot who the young lady was, but it was supposed to be I think it was a hotel on the East Coast, but they filmed it in 1950 in this gorgeous home that was a pioneering home in Pacific Grove, and it burned, unfortunately. We had the Graves house, which burned. It was unsecured, and they are in the middle of trying to rebuild it. I'm really, really concerned that our Stockelmeyer house is sitting down there, and it could be the victim of this type of situation. If the city, obviously there are concerns now with the budget, but there will always be concerns with budgets. That's why historic homes are never restored. That's why it takes philanthropy. So let's start looking at grants that are available in the county, the state. The Rockefellers rebuilt Williamsburg from the ground up. Williamsburg was the capital of colonial Virginia until right after the Revolutionary War. Washington actually moved the capital to Richmond because the British were going to be able to come into Williamsburg easier. But by the time the Rockefellers came in 1920, it was just a hamlet. But if you have not been there, it is the cradle of history, and school children from all over this country go there as part of their academic, and you learn. That was driven into me. You learn the good and the bad. So we have a history house in Cupertino. Let's have it be a history house. Let's learn from it. The other thing that I'm concerned about is that I did hear recently that the big shopping center with the Safeway at Homestead and Sunnyvale-Saratoga Road sold recently. I'm really hoping that the new owner will keep that as retail. We don't need housing in there, we need retail. There are condos behind it. I actually looked at those when I was going to buy a home. But let's keep retail, our big new beautiful Safeway in Cupertino.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Next we have Rhoda Fry, followed by Juan Ochoa, followed by Long Zhao. Welcome, Rhoda.
Good evening. It is no surprise that the city's referral to the district attorney's office pertaining to the alleged behavior by council members was dismissed. What is surprising is that this referral was made at all. Y'all knew there was no there. Why continue this character assassination? It was a waste of time, it was a waste of taxpayer money, and it was embarrassing. As a 40-year resident, I am embarrassed. I request that the inaccurate portrayals of our elected city council members be corrected. I will give 2 examples. First, I ask that the city's response to the grand jury report be corrected. The report stated that Councilmember Moore had inappropriately sought information on credit card expenses. This was untrue. The city attorney agreed that the Councilmember Moore had appropriately gone through the proper channels. She did right, but the report was wrong. The city attorney decided not to mention inaccuracy because the statement in the report was substantively correct. I agree at a micro level. However, the objective of the report was to advance a false narrative that she had made an inappropriate request. It really didn't have to do with the money. I'm asking the City Council amend the response to the grand jury report on this point because it is the right thing to do. Second, Councilmember Fruin was mistaken in his comments relating to other council members, and I ask that these be corrected. Everyone should know that Councilmember Moore, a brilliant civil engineer with unsurpassed analytical skills, was a highly respected member of the VTA board. She was selected to leadership positions on this body. Nevertheless, our new Councilmember Fruin had assumed that the following quote, I quote, "If this activity is happening here, I think it is reasonable to expect that it's happening also at other bodies." This is clearly a false assumption. And there's another statement that is even more concerning. Quote, "The results of a settlement at the city's association of Santa Clara between that agency and its executive director, which involved $8,000 that we had to pay as a city on account of Leon Chow's behavior there." Yes, there was a complaint by the former executive director of the Cities Association of Santa Clara County. Many people were named. Councilmember Chow was mentioned in a group of others. However, former Council Mayor Rod Sinks, who now serves as a board member in our high school district, was singled out as having made a clearly discriminatory comment based on the director's sex, gender, and marital status. However, it would be equally inaccurate to say that former council member Sinks was responsible for the $8,000 settlement. So, Councilmember Fruin, I know you're new on the board, so people make mistakes. Please, let's just fix it, and please be careful about how you treat each other. Finally, there's so many errors in the way our council members have been portrayed. I respectfully request that council members Chow and Moore be restored to their former committee assignments. Thank you.
Thank you, Rhoda. Anyone wishing to speak under oral communications, you have about 3 minutes left to submit a speaker card or raise your hand on Zoom. Next, we have Juan Ochoa, followed by Long Jiao, followed by Jennifer Sharon. Welcome, Juan. I understand you have a group request.
Yeah, should I wait till they're all here? They're going to be here in 5 minutes.
They should all be present.
Okay, so I'll wait until they show up.
Sure. So is that okay, Mayor? Okay, so I will call the
Okay.
next person then. Okay, Long Jiao, followed by Jennifer Sharon.
Good evening, council members. My name is Lang Jiao, resident of Cupertino, and I speak for myself. Next year will be the election year again, but the campaign already started. And right here, and right on the dais. And instead of focusing on issues the city of Cupertino is facing, like the budget crisis, and we see the new council majority decided to use the council meeting and the dais as campaign tools to attack the existing and the potential political opponents. What did we see in the last 6 months? We see the attempt to remove the chair of Planning Commission, Stephen Schaff, the removal and smear of the member of Planning Commission R1, and the biased investigation of council members Chow and Moore for their guts to even speaking for the people, and the one-sided punishment to council members Chow and Moore, and the referral to a district attorney of former Mayor Powell. But the deputy district attorney responded to the referral within 10 business days, stating that there's no evidence for the accusation at all. One accusation busted, but we must ask another question. How many of other accusations are political based? And when will this council stop using the dais as your campaign tool and focusing on solving the issues our city is facing? Thank you.
Thank you, Long. Next, we have Jennifer Sharon, followed by Yvonne. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Way and council members. I'm speaking only on behalf of myself tonight. Lately, I've been hearing some untruths about the grand jury report, the independent investigators report, the referral by our city attorney, and the letter which came out from that district attorney. There's just a few facts that I want to present to dispel some of these myths. First of all, the evidence found in the grand jury and the independent report was significant. It was not, as some has characterized it, an org chart issue or people being investigative. It wasn't benign. There were documented municipal code violations. Clearly, municipal code states that the role of the council members are not to oversee, manage, evaluate, or give direction to staff. So that's very important to consider. Second of all, regarding the letter from the DA, it quite clearly states in the letter that three very specific things. One is that the statute of limitations said he could only consider evidence of the last year. And because of that means until May of 2022. Two, he could not consider prior to that, and only could consider things from hiring and firing violations. Those hiring, firing violations are what the city council, you guys, referred. They didn't refer any other violations. And three, I think that I know that investigation was in response to what the city council sent over, which means that they were responding to what the city attorney asked for the DA, meaning it wasn't, some kind of vendetta or something like that. So I think that's really important to consider. Last, I don't want to dismiss these violations as something that didn't cause real and serious effects. I think we all know now, we've all read everything, that the staff feel that it was a toxic and stressful environment. That was the quote, and how 60% of top staff left due to that environment. I don't want to discount the seriousness, and I think that we all, as residents, deserve accountability from our leaders, and that would include commissioners, such as myself. I also have accountability, and I want to make sure that we all agree on that. Thank you for your time and everything you do on behalf of Cupertino.
Thank you, Jennifer. Next, we have Yvonne. Welcome, Yvonne.
Hello. I have to stand on my tiptoes. I really appreciate all of you for doing this, doing all the work of our city, and I know that everyone in their heart wants to make the city a better place. I just want to talk about the truth and the whole truth, and as a way of illustrating this, I'll talk about my kids. I have two kids that went through Cupertino schools, and when they were in middle school, we went to New York City, and the kids were really excited about going to Carnegie Hall, and they took their hacky sack, and they said, we want to be able to go back home and say, we played at Carnegie Hall. But they declined to admit that what they did was take out their hacky sack and throw it around in the atrium of Carnegie Hall. So when I would just like to see that in discourse in our public spheres, that the whole truth is really what we're looking at, and not just what we pick and choose to talk about. So if you say, for instance, that the DEA has said in the response to the referral, oh gosh, I'm really not really bad at this, response to the referral for analysis, that there was no sign of wrongdoing, that you need to specify that there was a statute of limitations of 1 year, and that no sign of wrongdoing in the last year is not the same as saying there was no wrongdoing or no bad faith actions before 1 year ago. And so I hope that everyone can agree to this, to talk about the truth and to keep that in mind so that we can have real discussions about about the whole truth and not just the partial truth. Thank you.
Thank you, Yvonne. And Juan, is your group ready?
We have 4. We're missing the 5th
Okay, so we'll move to Zoom, and you'll just let me know when you're ready. Oh, okay. Okay, so you have Emily M, Anita L, Julie A, Norby A. Oh, okay, yeah. And okay, all right. Okay. Do you want to start? I understand you have this presentation that would you like me to cue it up immediately?
Yes, please.
Okay. Just give me one moment.
Yep. And I just use the arrows to go through the slides?
Just prompt me.
Oh, okay.
I'll be sharing my screen.
Okay. Oh, is this a microphone? There it is. Sorry. Hello, hi there.
Ooh, just one moment, sorry. Shared the wrong screen. This one.
All right, I'll get started here. My name is Juan, and I want to bring an issue forward. Noise polluters. I'm requesting an urgent update to Cupertino's noise ordinance. Next slide, please. So let me just tell you a little bit about us. So I work in tech. My partner Emily, she's here with me. She's a healthcare provider, and we both are, pursuing our careers here in Cupertino. And I've been working from my home office since COVID hit back in March of 2020, and we've been living in the same location for the last 9 years. Next slide, please. So we love Cupertino. It's one of the gem cities here in the South Bay. Top tier public school systems, great public parks, safe bike routes, of course, home of Apple, and attracts the top talent around the globe. Next slide, please. So we have a problem. So our problem, I just want to get to the point, is we have commercial buildings that are neighboring that have the roof mechanical equipment that's polluting high levels of noise at all hours to our home. It never shuts off. Some of this equipment is 24/7, literally refrigeration equipment that doesn't turn off. So in our house, we haven't had any peace and quietness for a very long time. It's affecting my mental, physical, and financial health, and we're just getting sick and tired of this. So I decided to bring it forward here now. Next slide. So how did we get here? So like I mentioned, been living here for 9 years. So I typed it all up. It's a laundry list of how to get to this point. So it went from not knowing my rights to not knowing how to bring issues forward to not being aware of the code enforcement department and not being aware I could contact the sheriff department some issues. The availability from these departments sometimes is hit or miss. Residents not fully trusting city government officials. Residents not believing anything will be fixed in a timely manner. Complexity of navigating the inner workings of various city departments. I've had to deal with that talking to many departments. Having to learn the city code, that's a new one for me. And then we have these unchecked existing older commercial buildings evading building codes. They're, like I said, they're noise polluters, calling them bad actors here. There's little to no consequences to them, so this is why this continues to happen. And so we have high noise levels compared to other neighboring cities. We don't account in our existing noise ordinance code. Our levels are higher than the rest, and it doesn't account in other important factors like duration, consistency, annoyance, and does not directly spell out common situations. We have kind of like a very big umbrella statement for noise, and we need to really dig in there and really label stuff properly and call things out. And then we would like, and of course, there's no direct cutoff hours for construction hours and Sunday work as well. Next slide, please. So I just want to bring a quote forward. There's a business diagonally across the street from my house. I've been working with the individual, talking to her. She used to live behind us, so I've been trying to be amicable about the situation. And I finally, we've been talking for 2 weeks, and she just told me on Sunday, hey, her equipment's not making any noise. I don't hear anything, and just go buy new windows. That's her solution to my problem that she's creating from the top of her restaurant. So this is literally the attitude of all the people in the situation. Since it doesn't affect them because it's coming from them and they're not the ones receiving it, they don't care. Next slide, please. So I just want to bring something to your attention. Noise is invisible. So there's 7 types of pollution. We all probably know air, water, land, light, there's thermal pollution, and then there's radioactive, which is the scary one, right? So noise is invisible. So a lot of people kind of go without paying attention to this because it's just like kind of out of sight, out of mind, just not there. So this is the one I really want to talk, and this is why I'm here. Next slide, please. So what is noise pollution? It's unwanted or disturbing sound in the environment that affects the health and well-being of humans and other living organisms. Next slide, please. So damaging effects. So there's real dangers to noise pollution, and I've seen a lot of write-ups now coming out from the New Yorker, New York Times, like talking about this issue. So one, sleep. There's deep impacts on sleep. Like we're having a very hard time sleeping. Physical, it does affect some children and adults concentrating, and and me working from home, it really does seep into that. And mental, there's psychological issues that come with this. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention. Next slide, please. So with all this constant noise around our home, especially the last 18 months, I've developed my mild hyperacusis. So it's some people talk about it like you have super hearing. It's not really super hearing. It's a loudness perception, and it's really caused by really loud noises around you. And it's common like in certain work environments, like if you work at a concert or a gun firing range, it kind of happens there. But I've been developing just living it at our home because the noise around us is just extreme. Next slide, please. So I'm just using some examples here. So if you like living in our home, it's like living right next to the Costco dairy section. It's like living right next to the beer cave inside a convenience store, like when you come in and buy alcohol. And it's also like living next to an industrial complex. It's that noisy. So next slide, please. So I have footage here I want to share with you. This is from our backyard. If you could pause it. Yeah, sorry about that. It's a lot louder than that. It's just the way the speakers and the way it's coming, it's not coming across properly here at the moment. But it's this refrigeration equipment that's like, you could totally see it's missing the cover. There's other various broken mechanical equipment on the top. There's no sound screens or sound barriers. There's no commercial property. All the noise is being directly and indirectly forced into our house. And because we're the first contact point, and like I mentioned, doesn't stop. And extremely difficult to sleep, and it's extremely difficult to spend time outside. Next slide, please. So it's so loud outside our house that we have stopped some of these activities, and we've been deprived of them, from gardening, barbecuing, reading, lounging outside, gathering with friends, and in the front, just like washing my vehicle. Next slide, please. It's so loud inside our home. This is what we need to do just in the daytime. We have to turn up the TV really loud. I have to play music. I can't even open our doors and windows and enjoy the nice weather right now. And during the nighttime, this is when it gets really bad. We have to turn on fans. We have to turn on the AC or the heater just to kind of bring more noise inside, and as white noise. And we have to play our speakers, and I've even worn earplugs because it's just got so bad in the last 6 months. Next slide, please. So I'm asking you guys for help. I want to get our quality of life, our peace and tranquility back. This is kind of our last resort here. I've been working with the Sheriff Department and code enforcement for the last 18 months. I really haven't made much headway, so I realized it's time to bring it forward here. Next slide. So I know I'm running short on time. I have probably another 20 more slides, so I'll just get to what I can in this, and if somehow we could somewhere pick up at some later point. So this is where we live. We're about a third of a mile down from Cupertino City Hall. We live on Rodriguez Avenue. I highlighted it in blue for you. Next slide, please. So just showing you like a side view. So the commercial zone's on the left. We have a property wall in the center and right by the post. Our residential's our shared driveway right there, our living room, bedroom, and then the right photo, you can kind of see what you would see just driving down the road. Next slide, please. So what is commercial equipment? I just want to bring everybody up to speed. So commercial equipment is all the pieces that work together that make up an HVAC system. So that includes refrigeration, that includes evaporative coolers, and exhaust fans. So I showed some pictures here so you could have an idea what this looks like and some of these equipment, what it looks like. Next slide. So we have, to emphasize my point, there's two plazas. It's literally 2 blocks north of us is the Cupertino Crossroads Plaza. It's a little bit newer plaza. And then 2 blocks south of us is the McKellen Square. That's where Ranch 99 is at. And the one on top is Starbucks, and you have the UPS store, all these other Sprouts used to be there. And we sit right in the center at Ilaria, next to the Ilaria Center. Next slide, please. So noise is subjective, right? So I could come up here and say, hey, it's really loud. What's loud for me might not be loud for you, but I decided to put some data so you guys could see this. Next slide, please. So the plaza northern above us at the crossroads, during the day, I had a reading of 47.3 decibels. So that was yesterday. I took it at 2 p.m. And then the plaza below us, that McKellen, is at 47. So these are very acceptable noise rates. These are very common. You wouldn't notice anything. And then at nighttime, it drops to 41 degrees at the crossroads, and it drops to 45 degrees at the McKellen. Next slide, please. And then our home, the readings are 66.8 during the day and 56.5. Just so you guys know, a 10% decibel increase is the noise is perceived as double the volume. We are 20 decibels above the other competing plazas. So I have way more slides and more information to get into, but unfortunately I'm running out of time. So I don't know how we could pick this up, but I sent this across an email to you guys this afternoon, so if you guys could take a look at it.
Thank you, Juan. And so that concludes our speaking requests in Community Hall, so we will switch to Zoom. Just have to get back to Zoom here. So we have Sanar, Muni Maripatla, and Lisa Warren. Welcome, San.
Good evening, Mayor Hui, Vice Mayor Mohan, City Council. I have multiple topics not on the agenda that I want to bring up today. The first topic that I wanted to bring up was, as you may be aware, CUSD is selling what was the erstwhile Montebello School in West Cupertino in Montebello. And I would like to request the city to consider buying that property and converting it to a city park. As you know, the Montebello area is a beautiful scenic piece of land. It will be one of the most scenic and beautiful city parks. And it is on sale for under $2 million in a market that is struggling right now. There is no better time to buy real estate in this market. And I urge City Council to find the money and buy 15101, I believe it is. It's 15101 Montebello Road, which is on sale right now. I urge the city to please buy this property and convert it to a city park. Rarely does a city council get a chance to stamp your legacy for decades and centuries to come. And Mayor Wee, this is your chance to do it now. Please construct and develop Montebello City Park, which will be known as having been built and developed in the Council of 2023. So that's the first topic I wanted to bring up. The second topic that I wanted to bring up was the Cupertino Teen Center, which is located in the Cupertino Sports Center, has been closed since 2020, and it was closed for COVID. It has not been reopened. And I urge the City Council to direct staff to bring to Council an agenda to examine why the Teen Center has not been reopened. As you know, in past years, the Teen Center prior to COVID was a free resource for our teens to be able to meet at the place, to socialize, to de-stress, to do their homework, and just give them a place to network for free. And the Teen Center is yet another resource that has been taken away from our youth and teen of Cupertino. I request you to please direct staff to bring this to your agenda and to reopen this Teen Center at the earliest. And finally, I request you to please restore committee assignments of Council Member Chow and more. Council Member Wei, you have worked with these council members in the past on prior councils. These are relationships that have transcended councils. And as the leader and mayor, it is your obligation and duty to go beyond these petty fights. And yes, there have been mistakes made. I agree with that. And yes, things could have been better, but leaders look beyond and look to heal. So I hope you will make amends and restore their committee assignments. Thank you.
Thank you, San. Next we have Muni Maripatla, followed by Lisa Warren. Welcome, Muni.
Good evening, Mayor Wei, Vice Mayor Mohan, and the City Council. I am Muni Maripatla, a longtime resident of Cupertino. I also serve on the Planning Commission, but I'm here representing myself as a Indian American citizen of Cupertino. I'm here to speak against a new Senate bill known as SB 403 taking shape in Sacramento. I request our City Council to put this bill on an agenda to hear from our residents as it unfairly discriminates against Indian American community in all of California. This bill introduces the notion of caste in America. My kids don't know what their caste is. I don't want anyone asking them the same just because they are of an Indian descent. I also don't want any government agency assigning a caste label to them for prosecution purposes, like the Civil Rights Department of California tried to do in the failed Cisco case. Please note that case failed. We want the government to bring people together by eliminating these barriers. Instead, the state government is trying to institutionalize caste attribute on Indian Americans. By the way, such law adopted by Seattle City is being challenged in the court by their residents. I don't think we want to invite lawsuit as the government tries to apply caste labels on our citizens. This law is unconstitutional and violates our rights. I would like City of Cupertino to pass a resolution condemning the unjust law SB 403 for discriminating against Indian Americans in Cupertino and all of California. Thank you.
Thank you, Mooney. And our final speaker on Zoom with their hand raised in the 9-minute time limit is Lisa Warren. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you. So first I want to address the draft minutes for May 9th, which I'm allowed to do during oral, I understand. So I just want to suggest or request some changes. Page 2, line 4, where it says Lisa Warren ceded their time to Darcy Paul. I would like to be referred to as her time, please. Second, on page 4, in the middle of the page where it notes it's 8:17, Councilmember Chow read a statement and left the meeting. I think it needs to be added the fact that Councilmember Chow, slightly before 4 p.m. that day, had sent an email to the city manager and the clerk's office asking for a statement, very short statement, to be read as to why she was not there at the starting time, which was shifted from the normal starting time. And that wasn't done. She had to read it herself 2 hours in. And that just seems, I don't know what it seems. It doesn't look good. It's not a good thing to have happened. I wish it had been respected, that that statement had been read at the appropriate time, which she requested right after roll call. Then people would have understand why she wasn't there. She wouldn't have had to wait an hour and a half after she got there to say anything. And on page 6, I just think it makes sense. The last line before adjournment, the amended motion carried with Chow absent and Moore absent, then in parentheses recused. I think recused parentheses should be after Chow absent as well. So it's clear that they were both recusing. So then my main thing, actually, Kirsten, if you could please show the slide. Many of you have heard me ask over and over at Planning Commission, at City Council, in the City Council workshop for work plan, that we must address the current balcony and privacy screening expectations in our municipal code. This is a picture, there's another one following, of a new build house that's just been sold. And you can see from that balcony with a clear glass railing, looks completely into the house behind it, the entire width of the house, which happens to be 75 feet, the width of the lot, and beyond to the other neighbors. This should not be acceptable. Next slide, please. Or picture. You can see how the balcony is, and there's a second bedroom actually. So the master bedroom and an additional bedroom both have doors onto that balcony.
Thank you, Lisa. That is your time. Mayor, that concludes the speakers.
Thank you. I'm going to close the oral communication and move into consent calendar. I understand we have, I rearranged consent calendar 4, and we have some consent calendar being pulled. City Manager?
Yes, Mayor Way. We have item 2 that is pulled by Councilmember Chow. Item 4, which will move forward already. Item 5, pulled by Councilmember Moore, and item 10, pulled by Councilmember Chow.
Okay. So do we have any more? Yes?
Did you say 5 also?
Yeah,
Okay.
5 and 10.
So 4 is being rearranged to be after 11. So we have number 2, number 5, and number 10 currently being pulled from the consent agenda. Do we have any more? If not, I want to remind the public that when I open up for the consent agenda public comments, that you are going to comment on number 1, 3, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Whatever is being pulled will have its extra public comment period. So I am going to so all the numbers, number 2, number 5, number 10, will be after our action items. And number 4 will be after number 11. So now I'd like to open, I'd like to open public comment for consent calendar only on the ones that have not been pulled. Do we have any cards?
Yes, Mayor, we have 1 speaker card in Community Hall for item 7 from Jennifer Sharon.
Thank you.
There is 1 hand raised on Zoom. Welcome, Jennifer.
Good evening again. I'll be very brief. I'm speaking again only on behalf of myself. I encourage you to approve without delay the staff proposal to add buffered bike lanes to De Anza. Though these are class 2 buffered bike lanes, which means just paint, they're not nearly as safe, as we know, as class 4 bike lanes with a physical divider, but they will allow for future class 4 bike lanes. So I really support them. Thank you for considering my input.
Thank you, Jennifer. And we have Louise Sadati would also like to speak for item 7. Welcome, Louise.
Thank you very much. I'll be very short also. I really support item 7, and I think that that the money for the city is well spent for safety and to increase use of bicycles and safety. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you, Louise. And so we will move to Zoom. We have 2 hands raised, 1 from call-in user 1 and 1 from San R. Welcome, call-in user 1. I see you've unmuted yourself, but you may be having audio issues 'cause we can't hear you.
Yeah, dear council members, and actually I was meant to talk in the oral communication time, but I was somehow, I don't know what happened, didn't see the hand raised, so I was not talking any again. You guys talked about this item. So, but basically the email I was sent earlier about the city tried to send us as fixation, which
Mayor Way, point of order. I believe the speaker is out of order.
Go to the next speaker.
So this is the consent calendar, so you may only provide comments for one of the items listed under the consent.
Speaker, yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move to San R. Welcome, San. You'll need to unmute yourself, San.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm speaking on item 7, and I would like to urge you to vote against the buffered bike lanes. The De Anza Boulevard corridor is an important corridor to connect adjacent cities of Sunnyvale to Saratoga. The De Anza corridor is an active thoroughfare for commute to and from work, and a number of communities use De Anza as a expressway, even though it is not. And it is important for us to recognize as we build and develop the city center and expand the city center to provide more housing to the city of Cupertino, that this road continues and will be a critical piece of transport infrastructure. And building buffer bike lanes is going to increase the bottleneck for this stretch and going to make it extremely difficult for residents, not just of Cupertino, but also for residents of Saratoga that are trying to get in and out of Saratoga. I request the City Council to please think holistically as you're expanding housing in that area. It is going to be vital for traffic to be able to move in and out smoothly and easily. Those corridors need to be maintained as free-flowing lanes of traffic. Dianza is already a spot of several accidents. Creating these buffered bike lanes leads to lane narrowing and lane crowding and can lead to more dangerous conditions for roads. Traffic moves at 40 to 50 miles an hour on those roads, and those buffered bike lanes can actually pose more danger to both the autos and the cyclists that are on that stretch. And finally, as we look to scale back the city budget, I urge you to actually study how many bicycles are using these buffered bike lanes. Without any data, we continue to invest millions of dollars on these bike and ped projects at the expense of Parks and Rec, which gets starved of funding, which is more used by the community. And a lot more residents are touched by projects in Parks and Rec compared to these buffered bike lane projects. I urge you to please focus on the ped part of bike and ped. There are two aspects to bike and ped. The pedestrian part is often ignored. There are plenty of opportunities to add pedestrian safety projects, and you need to have equity between pedestrians and bicyclists, which we do not have today. The bike and ped projects are all focused on bike lanes, and the pedestrian projects such as crossing guards, pedestrian crossings, sidewalks, see less of an attention. So I urge you to please reject buffered bike lanes for Dianza Boulevard. Thank you.
Thank you, San. Mayor, that concludes the speakers for this item.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. I'm going to close the public comment for consent calendar. May I have a, do we open up for discussions, or may I have a motion? So may I have a motion to approve consent calendar number 1, 3, 6, 7, 8, and 9?
So moved.
May I have a second, please?
Yes, I'll second.
Okay, moved by Councilmember Froon, seconded by Vice Mayor Mohan. Do we have any discussions? If not, can we vote by light, please?
The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Now we are moving to item 11, which is a public hearing. I'm going to open up the public hearing. And may I have a staff report, please?
Yes, Mayor. So we're getting ready to have the presentation for item 11. This is in regard to the 1992 storm drainage fee renewal and the 2019 clean water and storm protection fee with a 3% increase. Please bear with us. It will take a minute to get the presentation up.
Good evening. All right, I'll just launch in. Good evening, Mayor Way, council members. I am Ursula Sarova, Environmental Programs Manager. This presentation is about the renewal of the city's 2 stormwater fees, which we bring to council annually this time of year. Cupertino is required under permit to keep our stormwater clean. The permit is called the San Francisco Bay National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System Permit, aka the Municipal Regional Permit, and it covers 76 agencies in the Bay Area and establishes requirements for stormwater pollution prevention. It is over 700 pages long, grew out of the Clean Water Act, and includes about 20 categories of compliance that the city must adhere to. The city has 2 property-based fees in place to support our compliance activities. These fees require an annual renewal process in advance of the county assessing the fee via property tax bills. The first was adopted in 1992, and the second fee was adopted in 2019. Rates for the fees are based on land use, with the 1992 fee having flat rates for single-family homes and the 2019 fee having more varied rates by parcel size. Both fees appear on property tax bills, as shown here. And here are just a few examples of the preventative, responsive, and educational activities which ensure our compliance with the permit. The city has a stormwater inspector, an environmental programs specialist, and 1 maintenance worker who is dedicated entirely to storm drain cleaning and maintenance, and they do much of the field work to keep the city in compliance. This work includes responding to spills, conducting annual preemptive inspections, reviewing building plans, and coordinating installation of new trash capture devices. Many other people provide assistance as well, including hands-on learning at McClellan Ranch Preserve, education during outreach events, and administrative work to gather and track the data and report out as required by our permit. As part of our work, we conduct 2 volunteer-driven creek events each year, and staff also does additional cleanups in areas less accessible to volunteers. And meanwhile, we use our Vector truck to clean and maintain over 2,000 storm drains, many of which are fitted with special devices to keep trash from entering the system and being carried to our creeks. This program also covers half the expense of street sweeping in the city. To further assist with compliance, we are part of a regional organization called the Santa Clara Valley Urban Runoff Pollution Prevention Program, which conducts required water sampling, on-land visual trash assessments, and extensive guidance for compliance, and for the preparation and submission of our extensive annual report that goes to the Regional Water Board. We pay to be part of that group, but it provides great economic efficiency in managing our compliance. This fiscal year, we are also launching a project to assess the outfalls in the city to identify those that may need repair or maintenance. Aside from all those activities, the annual budget includes money for 2 rebates. One is for rainwater capture and landscape conversion in partnership with Valley Water. No change to this program is recommended. The program provides direct benefit to our stormwater by reducing the use of pesticides, fertilizers, and runoff from irrigation. We also have had a rebate program for residents who install permeable pavement driveways. We have had only 1 project earn a rebate despite promotion of this program over several years, and so we are recommending elimination of it so that we can use those funds for other required activities. In 2019, as part of establishing the newer fee, Council approved a cost share program that is available to low-income property owners, which provides a 20% rebate upon approval and then a 20% reduced rate on their bill going forward. An additional 40 residents qualified for this program since last year, bringing the total to 271 participants. Cost share funds must come from the general fund because it is not allowed to use collected fees to subsidize the fees of another property owner. The non-point source program, as this is called, and storm drain maintenance revenues and expenses are audited annually during the regular external audit. Additionally, we worked with finance staff to establish a new agreed-upon procedures audit so that a full calendar year of expenses and revenues will be audited prior to asking Council to renew the fees each year. The auditor's report described no exceptions noted. The 1992 fee has no mechanism for increase, so it remains the same each year, bringing in about $375,000. The 2019 Clean Water and Storm Protection fee brings in about $1.1 million and does allow for an annual increase by CPI up to 3%. Together, the 2 fees bring in about $1.4 million. We recommend the 3% increase to the clean water fee for 23-24. While expenses for this current fiscal year are expected to be above the revenues, there is an eligible balance in the Environmental Management Clean Creeks Special Revenue Fund, Fund 230, to cover the difference. Increasing this fee by 3% would increase revenue by close to $33,000 for fiscal year 23-24, which is about $1.33 per year additional for an average single-family home parcel. Increased permit requirements have resulted in the need for more staff time and expense over the years. We saw a dip in some expenses during COVID, and there was a transitional time when we were making some adjustments to staffing allocations. In addition, we've been trying for a couple of years to get a good quote for needed assessment work on our storm drain system, and that project has begun this fiscal year, and then we will conduct needed maintenance and repairs. Given the current financial situation, we looked at any places where we could reduce costs and thus reduce the ask of the general fund to cover any shortfall beyond fee revenues. We made $38,560 worth of operating expense reductions, and then we have two additional recommendations. First, with only 40 to 100 new cost share rebate participants qualifying per year, we do not need the full $14,000 each year that has usually been budgeted. That amount was established the first year of the new fee and was set at an amount that would have covered every qualified resident applying for the cost share program in 1 year. The need for the $14,000 has not been realized, and we recommend reducing this annual budget request to $2,000. The other reduction results from a proposed purchase of a remote-controlled pipe camera rover. This would allow city staff to inspect and troubleshoot issues and conduct evaluations year-round without having to hire the service. This is estimated to save the program about $160,000 per year going forward. So as we talk about how expenses have gone up and the fund balance will be exhausted, we've arrived at a point to recommend the allowable increase to the clean water and storm protection fee. The rates shown on the left are the current fees, and on the right would be the fees with the 3% increase. These tables can be seen on page 4 of the staff report. Council has the option to increase the clean water and storm protection fee at CPI with a 3% cap if actual program expenditures increase or fund balance is insufficient to cover shortfall. We recommend renewal of this fee with a 3% increase for fiscal year 23-24. As noted on a previous slide, for the most common size residential property, this 3% increase would mean an extra $1.33 per year. So tonight's recommended actions are to renew the 1992 fee with no increase and renew the 2019 fee with a 3% increase, to approve reduction of the annual budget allocation from the general fund for cost share rebates, and to adjust the recertification period to be 4 years for all with a signed attestation protocol to participants rather than requiring them to resubmit eligibility documentation. This will save a lot of staff time and the time of the owners receiving the benefit. And finally, we recommend to discontinue the $12,500 per year pervious pavement rebate program for lack of participation and use the funds for support of required activities. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions that council or the public may have.
Thank you so much, Ursula, for a detailed orientation. And I want to say that the council has been also oriented by you, by separately. At least I received a very detailed question and answer session. So I would love the council members to ask questions, but if you have already asked questions, and so we can save time, that take a couple minutes each. If you still have some questions that haven't been answered by Ursula or Chad. Any council members have questions? If not, I will open up for the public comment. Oh, Councilmember Foon, please.
Yeah, if you could, just for the benefit of the public, describe the attestation protocol.
Yeah, we propose that rather than, so in order to get the cost share program benefit, folks had to show that they are a PG&E care recipient, which is a reduced rate for PG&E, and that's just an easy way for us to tag onto that and not require a lot of extra documentation. So people either have to show that or they have to bring us tax documents. And for some of these folks, the computer is not they're not that savvy with that, and we're happy to meet with them in person, but it does take a lot of staff time, and people are mailing things and dropping things off. So when we hit this renewal period, we'd like to just have people swear that they are still eligible. It's a fairly small dollar amount at about $8.80. So I checked in with CAO, and that was allowable, and I think that'll make it easier for everybody. So we'll call for that attestation and go forward from there.
Okay, thank you. So now I will open up for public comments. Madam City Clerk, do we have cards?
Mayor, I see no speaker card requests or hands raised on Zoom for this item. None.
Okay, if none, I'll close the public comment periods and come back to council. Either have a motion or have further discussions. If no discussions, may I have a motion, please?
Thank you. First, I really appreciated the presentation. I think the camera rover idea is really smart. It was a very thoughtful presentation. I move the recommended action, the staff recommended action, and I'm just going to leave it at that rather than reading 1 through 5. Thank you.
Okay, moved by Council Member Moore, and do I have a second?
Second.
And I think the city clerk may need to read it, or do we just move the recommended action?
So, Mayor.
Yes.
Just a comment, a
Okay,
short
discussion?
comment.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah. A second comment that is really thoughtful staff recommendation, especially on the renewing, ease of renewing the waiver or the furlough income. I think that's really good, and I think 3% is reasonable for this time. And thank you for estimating the amount for per household to be $1.33. So that would ease people's mind. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So may I have the city clerk read so that we know what we, or is it okay with just recommendations?
Sure, I can read it.
Yeah.
So council is moving to adopt and approve resolution number 23-066, approving the renewal and collection of the 1992 storm drain fee with no increase in rates for fiscal year 2023-24. Resolution number 23067, approving the renewal and collection of the 2019 clean water and storm protection fee with a 3% increase in rates for fiscal year 2023 and 2024. Adjust the annual budget allocation for the cost share program from $14,000 to $2,000 to better fit the realistic need for new applicants receiving 20% refunds in a single year. Adjust the recertification period to be 4 years for all approved participants with an attestation protocol to affirm continued cost share eligibility, and discontinue the $12,500 per year previous pavement rebate program for lack of participation, and use the funds for support of required activities.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. City Attorney Jensen, do I need to close the public comment first before we vote, or we vote and close it?
Yeah, it'd be appropriate to close the public hearing
All right,
now.
so I'm closing the public comment period. So we have a motion and a second. Let's vote by light.
The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Now we're moving to number 4, which is being reordered. Number 4 is consider executing an agreement between the City of Cupertino and the Cupertino Chamber of Commerce. Do we have a staff report?
Mayor Wei, we do not have a staff report presentation. However, Deputy City Manager Tina Kapoor will show the proposed scope as part of the agreement to execute the document between City and the Chamber of Commerce on the slide to walk you through of the scope. And just also wanted to remind Council and also the members of the public, we have received a substantial amount of questions. I want to say 20 plus questions on this item, which has been thoroughly answered in the supplemental staff report. So for those of you, while Tina is bringing up the scope, can take a look at the responses that has been provided to the questions. So once Tina is done walking you through the scope, more than happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Thank you, Madam City Manager. Tina, you're on. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get someone from video to project the PowerPoint? Great. Thank you, City Manager Wu. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Tina Kapoor, Deputy City Manager, and I'm here today to provide a brief overview of the proposed agreement scope between the City and the Cupertino Chamber of Commerce. So as we begin, I want to point out that the City of Cupertino has had a long-standing partnership with the Cupertino Chamber, which is an organization of business owners and entrepreneurs who promote the interests of our local business community. The Chamber provides access to valuable resources and relationships that help businesses market their products and services, and that kind of helps our local economy. And so, as I mentioned, City has partnered with the Chamber in serving local businesses. These efforts, however, have never been officially recognized or formalized. And this proposed scope will be carried out in close coordination with the city and will be administered and monitored by our Economic Development Division. And so the intent of this agreement is to clearly lay out forward-looking performance commitments to ensure clear understanding of how the city and the Chamber will work together, and with that, a clear set of deliverables that I will go very briefly today. And I also want to highlight that all of the services that are part of this proposed scope will be offered to all businesses in Cupertino, not just Chamber members. So under technical assistance, this will be kind of helping with information dissemination on how to start and run or grow a business in Cupertino, which will include, of course, ensuring that individuals and organizations conducting business in Cupertino possess a current Cupertino license, business license. Also, that will help us support the city's tax base. Participating in and securing representation from the small business community for key initiatives, such as the city's emergency operation plan update. We want to make sure businesses are informed and ready, and we need partners to do so. Another program that Chamber will support is the Small Business Technology Program. So same thing with this one, conducting outreach, helping us onboard small businesses, and then working closely with the City Manager's Office to plan and host seminars and webinars on topics that are relevant to businesses in Cupertino. And of course, coordinating and organizing ribbon cuttings and grand openings to welcome new businesses in town. Under marketing and promotion, so in addition to marketing the small business community, Chamber will promote events that are geared towards the business community in general, such as Small Business Saturday, conducting outreach on policy changes and new regulations and ordinances as they come online, conducting surveys, for example, as needed, designing marketing campaigns and helping create a promotional strategy for upcoming major regional events such as the Super Bowl or the World Cup soccer to present, again, Cupertino in a positive manner and make sure that the city is capturing some of the visitors and attention that could potentially come with these large global events. Meetings and events, so organizing and hosting quarterly professional women's luncheons. So these are great networking opportunities for women in business. Working closely with the city in planning and organizing broker breakfasts, again, to further the Cupertino brand among really important stakeholders. Assisting the city in identifying and setting up Cupertino business outreach visits. And this agreement will also include the Chamber membership for the city at no charge. So these are the set of deliverables, and I just want to stress again that these will be available to all businesses in Cupertino and not just Chamber members. We are bringing this item forward to you as our recommendation, particularly as we face potentially difficult financial circumstances that will require us to double down on partnerships to generate more revenue and work with our business community towards that goal. With that, thank you, and I appreciate your time today, and we are here for questions. And if need be, the Chamber representatives are also available via Zoom.
Okay, thank you, Deputy City Manager Kapoor. Now I'm going to put it back for council questions. We did receive quite a few answers from the staff, so I have read some of them. So now I would like to keep this 5 minutes for each council for ask questions. We have time after the public comment for deliberation or further discussion. So Councilmember Moore, your hand is up first.
Okay, thank you. So we currently have a position for economic development, the economic development manager. They have a $467, almost $468,000 budget, and their service objectives are to support the city's financial stability, focusing on small business development and attraction. And that position is to provide assistance and support to businesses to enable job creation, new business formation, private investment, and industry evolution, conduct outreach to existing small businesses to create strong working relationships, collaborate with internal city team members to keep the needs of businesses in the forefront when reviewing applications and projects, partner with local business associations, agencies, and organizations to create a strong and cohesive network offering business support and assistance, provide the public with current data and information easily accessible online or in printed format, and assist with policy formation to align with business and community goals. What is the difference between what our own economic development manager is providing and what you are suggesting in this contract? What is there that the city is unable to provide? Thank you.
Mayor Wei, I'll take this question. Thank you, Councilmember Moore, for the question. So, as you could imagine, Tina has recently been promoted to the Deputy City Manager position, therefore leaving me a void in terms of filling the Economic Development Manager's position. So, through this contract, we'll be able to rely on the chamber to provide some of those responsibility that has been previously fulfilled by the economic development manager. As we are ongoing, continue with the recruitment, some of these responsibility will come back to City Hall if we are able to find a candidate. If not, we can continue to rely on chamber to fulfill these responsibilities.
So instead of hiring somebody into that position, your proposal is to have a 5-year contract with the chamber?
Through the mayor, so this is a 1-year contract to evaluate the performance, and potentially that could be renewed up to 5 years.
So what happens once you've hired the economic development manager?
We could relook into the proposed scope to see if there's other areas that chamber can provide the services to the city.
So how long do you anticipate it's going to take to hire the economic development manager?
Through the mayor, I don't believe that is the subject for tonight's discussion.
I think it's a valid question.
So, Councilmember Moore, do you have more questions, or would you like somebody else to ask questions first? You have 2:15. Okay, go ahead, Councilmember Chow.
I believe that was a very valid question. The staff refused to answer, unfortunately. So I would like to have some estimate on the professional women's luncheon has been hosted by the part-time economic manager in the past with a 30-hour work week, and the current economic development manager, which was not reduced from the budget. So we still have a full-time one budgeted full-time economic development manager. And my understanding for the previous one, when it was done by the city, the budget was only $200 to pay for the lunch. No other cost, since it's completely hosted by the city. Now, if this is done by chamber, $52 per hour, what will be the estimated number of hours for the chamber staff to organize, advertise, and host this woman's professional lunch? Do you have an estimate?
Through the mayor, I'll take that question as well. We do not have an estimated hours, but it is part of the scope that the chamber will perform. And and correct me if I'm wrong, Tina, so even if the hourly charges per month exceeded the estimated amount, the chamber will continue to provide those services.
So just to elaborate on that, what Manager Wu is alluding to is that the chamber will work on these items that we have outlined in the proposed scope within the parameter that the total amount not to exceed on an annual basis will not go over $52,000. The monthly amount indicated in the proposed scope is only to kind of give you an idea, but it's not the set amount.
But it sounds like the manager, city manager, admits that the responsibilities duplicate what the economic development manager should be doing, which we still have Tina Kapoor here that are still doing that function. I think the city learned from our mistake back in around 2020-21 when the economic development manager moved from part-time position to a consultant. The hours really racked up. Any hour that you spend to talk to a business is counted by consultant time. And then if we are going back to this, any amount of time the chamber utilized to talk to any business would be counted by the city. So how is that been, how is that reasonable for a city to do this when we have a full-time position now?
So through the mayor, I don't believe the responsibilities are duplicate. So one complements each other and enhances the city services that has been provided. That will be through the chamber.
But these are not necessary. The city has a full-time position for that.
Through the mayor, so the city does have a full-time position right now. I don't have any staff to fulfill those positions as Tina has taken on a new position.
So that's a justification for, then we don't need a 5-year contract then.
Through the
we
mayor.
just need maybe 3 months contract.
Through the mayor, so to fulfill the economic development manager's position is a portion of the scope proposed by the chamber. And these services that's been provided by chamber or proposed by the chamber goes beyond just what the economic development manager would perform.
But those are usually provided by other chamber of commerce in other cities for their, as part of their chamber mission, funded by their own member, and their members are all for-profit businesses, and it's in their best interest to do this.
I don't believe that's a question for
So
me.
last question. For the flyers from this event that's organized by the chamber, will that be city events or will the chamber logo be put on that? So the public dollars will be utilized to help a private organization advertise their business.
Through the mayor, I don't believe that we have discussed the specifics, but ideally we could put both the city logo
Because
and the
the
chamber.
problem with the website created by the chamber earlier was that it was perceived to be chamber website paid by city dollars, 60,000, more than 60,000 of city dollars for the website, and there were only chamber events, no city. Thank you.
Okay, council member, who came first? Okay, let's have Vice Mayor Mohan first before you, because you used some time. Vice Mayor Mohan.
And this is a question maybe for you, City Manager Wu. And some of it has been answered separately. I did ask this question through the normal process. And so my question was, even though the Chamber of Commerce will be submitting monthly invoices with the number of hours listed on as to how much work they put in, we will not be paying on the basis of a monthly invoice. We will be paying them for 1 year, regardless of the hours.
Through the mayor, so the contract is for an annual amount of $52,000. The monthly invoice is to provide the city transparency to see how the chamber has assisted the city in the areas that they identify in the scope of work. So the payment will be paid in a lump sum, $50,000 annual payment.
So the number of hours is not relevant?
The numbers of hours are given to the city as a reference to evaluate the services that has been rendered by the chamber, which is equivalent to most of the other consultant services that we receive in terms of their invoices.
Okay. Just one more question. So in effect, this is a 1-year contract.
Right now, we're proposing for a 1-year contract up to 5 years if staff deems it reasonable to continue renewing the contract.
And how frequently will we be doing a check-in of progress made in?
Through the mayor, Vice Mayor, do you refer to staff doing a check-in or council doing a check-in?
No, how frequently will we get a progress report from Chamber of Commerce?
We're expecting at least a quarterly report on the on total overall services as outlined in the scope, but also on a monthly basis, just how many hours are spent. So just give us an idea if things need to be adjusted at the end of that 1-year mark. But like I said, and like Manager Wu said, the not to exceed amount remains $52,000 for the entire year.
So is council going to see this report quarterly?
Through the mayor, so we will provide an update to council. So most likely I will provide a verbal update to council through my one-on-ones or my weekly newsletter so that you know what services has been rendered by the Chamber of Commerce. And small clarification to what I mentioned earlier, if in event that the Chamber of Commerce does not produce any services for that month, through the monthly invoice, it does not generate up to $4,000. However, the next month may have more than $4,000. That's where it will equal out the total amount, the annual payment of $52,000. However, the contract did say, regardless of what services that they provide, the total amount will not exceed $52,000. $52,000.
Right. Okay. Thank you. I'm done for now.
Yeah,
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
I just want to, what I think is a clarification, I just, what I believe is the case is that if for whatever reason we use less than the allotted amount of hours, we don't pay for that. So it's a not to exceed amount. If for whatever reason there's less resources used, the amount paid to the chamber would be less. And I just want to make sure that was clear.
Councilmember Fu?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I think Councilmember Moore wants to speak first, and then I'll get back to you. Councilmember Moore?
Okay. So I have a couple questions, and I want to put something up on the overhead. When the city has granted free use of facilities, free staff time, and granted funds to the chamber, they've gifted an organization with our tax dollars to advocate on behalf of their members, endorse and support council candidates, such as $120,000 contributed to support Mayor Wei. There was also money spent to oppose Councilmember Chow. Money was about $120,000 also for former Mayor Mahoney, and to advocate for the council to take positions on certain legislation. The city staff and council have literally been paying the chamber hundreds of thousands of dollars to influence elections and council decisions. What changes and/or assurances does the city have that these activities will not continue? And today I want to mention that we have 3 council members who were each supported by the chamber and 2 who were not. The chamber contributed, as I already said, $120,000 to help Mayor Wei get elected, endorsed the mayor and Councilmember Fruin, and provided campaign benefits last fall to Councilmembers Fruin and Vice Mayor Mohan. The chamber has played politics even in the most recent election and has worked to influence the decisions of the elected officials. What is going to change?
I'm going to advise staff not to respond to false statements and attempts to politicize the administrative process.
Please do not clap. Thank you.
I think they're valid concerns because this is an organization which is able to advocate, they're able to endorse, and I don't understand how that's going to change.
Which part
unfortunately,
is false?
Unfortunately, you're conflating 2 things, and what you're saying is not true.
City Attorney, will you please explain what is not true?
The advocacy organization that you're complaining about is separate from the member benefit organization that the city partners with.
How is that separate?
They're
Because
separate entities.
they are allowed under the law to endorse candidates. They're allowed to do that.
You're conflating 2 separate entities.
I look forward to a memo on that if council will indulge that request, explaining what the difference is and why chambers around us are allowed to endorse candidates.
Okay, so I will move to Councilmember Foon.
I do still have another question regarding the invoices.
Excuse me?
I have another question regarding the invoices.
So let's have Councilmember Foon does
Certainly.
it, and your 5 minutes does up, but I will let you ask the question. Councilmember Foon?
Yeah, my question is for the city attorney. It's relatively simple with regard to the way that we would be logging time. Is it appropriate to say that it's very similar to a retainer?
It's kind of the opposite of a retainer. We charge by the hour up until we get to the limit, and then we stop having to pay for more.
Yeah,
so
perfect.
it's like a backwards retainer.
Okay, thank you.
So I have a couple questions. This is actually for City Manager Wu. So the question was asked, how long would it take for you to hire a economic development manager? I would think the question is very hard to answer because I'll let you answer yourself.
Sure. So we have started a recruitment for this process. Typically, the recruitment is posted for anywhere from 2 to 4 to 6 weeks before we retain enough candidates. And then you have first round of interview, second round of interview, pending on everyone's availabilities. Again, that's pending if we have a qualified candidate like Tina Kapoor. If we don't, we will continue with that recruitment. And once the recruitment interview is set, and we will do background check, and we'll have to do a various other reference check. So that process could take anywhere from a month up to 2 months. And then, depending on the individual's current employment status, that will take another month or so before the person can join us. I know that we just started the recruitment posting process. Best case scenario, we could have an individual very qualified in the next 3 to 4 months. If not, worst case scenario, we could be looking at 9 months to a year before we can fill that position.
Thank you. So I think it's fair to say you don't know the answer because it really depends on the situations.
That is
Thank
correct.
you. And my second question is actually more for Tina, but City Manager, will you happy to for you to chime in too? We have one position, and you've done that. And do you think one person as our economic development manager will be enough to really move our economic engine with the business community? Or in my years of volunteering plus political, as a school board member, I found partnership and collaboration being very important in moving a public agency. So I just wanted your personal, as you've been doing this job, you think one person is enough to handle everything, or I'll let you answer. And Councilmember and City Manager, you're welcome to chime in.
Sure. Through the mayor. So I will provide a little background as how I know Tina operates. So last year, Tina actually had a part-time intern, Manu. Some of you have probably met him during the grand opening ribbon cutting event. A lot of events that has happened not only took Tina, Manu, and many other staff in the city manager's office to pull it off and just to complete the task. Is it a more than one person? It's actually more than 3 full-time position job. And I could be wrong, but there are a lot of things that Tina wishes to do on a daily basis that where she just can't. So this partnership with the Chamber of Commerce will not only be able to complement what Tina was doing and also to further advance the operation and the responsibilities that has been crafted into Tina's position prior to her most current promotion. Tina?
City Manager Pamela Wu nailed it. I would like to think that I can handle all of the economic development function for the city, which, I did build up a portfolio, but Mayor, as you alluded to, I think this work really depends on partnerships. And now is a good time as ever to, again, kind of foster and continue to build those partnerships, especially with organizations that share that same mission to help our businesses. We can take these efforts that we have put in our city much further that way.
Thank you. I will save my time for no further questions. Councilmember Moore, I'll let you have one last question.
Okay, so this is a question regarding what we can expect for invoices moving forward. Going to give the ilovecupertino.org services proposal and invoices as an example. This is from the chamber. They had an original proposal, which was not a signed contract with the city, but a proposal for $37,400. As was alluded to by Councilmember Chow, it was actually $65,000 that was paid to the chamber. But here's an example of an invoice. And we have website maintenance, for instance. The quantity is 10, but it doesn't say what that's 10 of. And the rate is $150. We can only presume that means $150 per hour. That's not clear. And this type of invoicing continued on. Another 10 at 150. 10 at 150. 10 at 150.
So
15
thank you,
at
Councilmember Moore.
150.
I think.
And 12. So will that be the type of invoices that we're going to be expecting in the future, or will we have some other level of service? Thank you.
So I think that's a question for City Manager to answer.
Through the mayor. So we will be looking at the invoices going forward. Again, as Tina mentioned, this is a forward-looking scope. So if there are ambiguity or vagueness to the invoices, we'll certainly work with the chamber to provide clarification and also transparency.
Thank you. So I have a minute and a half. I'd like to ask one last question is, I know there are a lot of old history that's being turned around, and we actually have seen Councilmember Moore's displays multiple times, and the questions being asked by Councilmember Chow, or I forgot who, that do we have what other cities do, and we have that information too that's been presented to us in the past years. I'm hoping that question for Tina is, and Councilmember and City Manager, was we are moving forward. Do you feel that this is would be a, how do I say that, would be something that could be very transparent, that all council members can feel comfortable about it?
So I'll take a first crack at it through the mayor. So about 6 weeks ago, so staff did bring a informational item to council, which included all of the information that has been requested by Councilmember Chow and Councilmember Moore. It started off as an informational item, which was then requested to be discussed as a consent item. I understand that there was desire to have a study session before this contract is available. However, we are where we are today. Forward looking, we do have an agreement with the proposed scope that staff is satisfied to give it a shot, and going forward for the next year, for not to exceed the amount of $52,000 to provide the services that has been described in the scope. I feel confident moving forward with the contract and also be able to deliver those services with the transparency, again, as envisioned. And if there's any adjustment and or refinement that needs to make, I believe that Tina and the chamber can also work towards getting that transparency to the council and the members of the community.
Thank you. I have no more questions. If we don't have any more questions, I'd like to open up public comment. Okay, I'd like to open up the public comment, please.
Yes, Mayor, we have 6 requests to speak cards for Community Hall. And there are 3 hands raised on Zoom. Anyone wishing to speak on this item, please have your hand raised in the next 9 minutes. We have Gilbert Wong, followed by Sean Panchal, followed by Dolly Sandoval. Welcome,
Thank you.
Gilbert.
Good evening, Mayor Hung Wei, the Cupertino City Council, and the City Manager. I'm really excited here to come and talk about the Cupertino Chamber and to support the $53,000 budget. I'm just very surprised that for this item for $53,000 that we have spent so much time on it. Again, as the city staff stated, that this item was only for 1 year. If we look at the budget for the economic development manager, is $450,000. First, I want to say congratulations for getting that promotion. It's very hard to keep good staff here at the city, but when our city manager finds good people, she brings them up. Also, I'm very concerned about individual council members, how they treat other staff people. I think that is very, very important that we have to work collegiately. And as we can see, even here tonight, I don't even see that. It's very important to have the questions answered, but not to show disrespect. And sometimes that is what I'm very concerned, to make sure that we have the utmost treatment of our city staff. Specifically, there were some things that I seen, like showing contracts and things like that. Here, you are here to approve a policy, a $53,000 policy. Either say yes or to say no. The city manager can always move on with her her recommendations. In regards to hiring an economic development manager, because we're in a budget crisis, maybe she might recommend that we hire half-time or maybe hold off for a year or two. You are here to look at the policy, to see what the presentation is. $53,000 is a bucket compared to other stuff. So I think that it's very important to support the partnership and the relationship that we have with the Cupertino Chamber of Commerce. We should put aside our biases, that if we have any, because I see that this relationship that we are trying to build back, and as the mayor said, to move forward, is not productive for our community. I would like to see all 5 of you work collaboratively with our city staff, and I urge you to support this recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Gilbert. Next we have Sean Panchal, followed by Dolly Sandoval, followed by John Tang. Welcome, Sean.
Hi, thank you. Good evening, council members. My name is Sean Panchal. I'm the current board president of our Cupertino Chamber of Commerce. I also manage commercial office space, and I'm a taxpayer in the city of Cupertino. The adoption of the agreement between the Chamber of Commerce and city governance is timely, pragmatic, and prudent. We now more than ever, without a moment to lose, need the gusto, the drive, and the motivation of a long-standing ally, the Chamber of Commerce, to support in collaboration the advancement of a path to economic mobility, economic resilience, and economic health. These last 3 years has left us, These last 3 years have left us with the dire consequences of a steady loss of jobs, a significant loss of businesses, and a loss of valuable community services, which continues to surface in an inescapable decline in community morale. Adoption of chamber professional services managed by an executive administration under city staff in collaboration is a sensible and realistic way of prudent considerations towards our city's economic health. Having worked in a long-standing management and development firm of 50+ years, expert consultancy and personalized services with the accountability and fluidity as described in this agreement would be expected to cost at least 6 times as much in today's market. That's $300,000. I encourage our council members to adopt this agreement and see that there is an opportunity to bring our community back to the economic health, sustain it, and bring that gusto to the city of Cupertino. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sean. Next we have Dolly Sandoval, followed by John Tang, followed by Jennifer Sheeran. Welcome, Dolly.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. I'd like you to just adopt item number 4, ensuring a positive and beneficial working relationship between the city of Cupertino and the Cupertino Chamber of Commerce. Every city thrives when their economic development is thriving. Cupertino is one of 15 cities here in Santa Clara County, and we compete automatically with our neighbors for both business attainment and retention. The best reason why we want to be competitive in this regard is simple to me. It's to earn the hardcore business taxes that go into our city's general fund revenue. Why is the general fund so important? Well, it's because we can build better parks and trails. We can maintain street lights. We can give money towards senior transportation programs. And we can keep our library hours open longer. These are all amenities that the city residents both enjoy, use, and actually need to enhance their quality of life. I believe the Cupertino Chamber of Commerce is the right vehicle to help the city grow our economic development. The current chamber employees are from this area. They live, work, and play in the city and surrounding cities. They intuitively recognize the importance of thriving small, medium, and large businesses, and they coordinate activities between our various active nonprofit organizations. Our city has tried a multitude of economic development strategies, from an in-house coordinator to an external, out-of-the-area company for hire. The results have been mixed, some good, some need to be bettered. In this agreement, I believe the city will get both the technical assistance, the marketing and promotional experience that is going to meet our community outreach challenges. The opportunity to strengthen the relationship between the city and the Chamber of Commerce is by working together because both of us want the same end goal, which is to diversify and strengthen the economy of the city of Cupertino. This will be a win-win situation for the city, for the chamber, for new and existing businesses, and for all of us residents. So again, I urge all 5 of you on the dais this evening to promote and to vote wisely and execute in favor of this agreement for item number 4. Thank you.
Thank you, Dolly. Next we have John Tang, followed by Jennifer Sharon, followed by Louise Sadati. Welcome, John.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council members, staff, and residents. My name is John Tang, and I'm a Chamber Board member. My remarks tonight are not on behalf of the Chamber, but rather myself as a Cupertino resident. First, let me say thank you for your service to the community. You spend untold hours doing this work because you care about the city and its residents. The decisions you make are not easy, impact all of us, and address the many challenges facing the city. With regards to this item, I'm in complete support of your approval of this contract between the Chamber and the City of Cupertino. Cities and their chambers have long enjoyed a collaborative relationship with the shared goal of enhancing the health of the local economy. They work side by side to create a place where everyone can be proud to live, work, and serve. At no time has this collaboration between the city and the chamber been more important or more tested. The city is facing some tough budget decisions tonight, and this should not be one of them. The return on investment from this contract will more than pay for itself. The joint efforts between the city and the chamber will create a brighter future for Cupertino's residents and businesses. I strongly encourage you to vote in support of this item. The economic health of our community depends on it. Thank you for your consideration and for the opportunity to address you.
Thank you, John. Next we have Jennifer Sharon, followed by Louise Sadati, followed by Rhoda Fry. Welcome, Jennifer.
Good evening again. I'm speaking again on behalf of only myself. We all know we're in a budget crisis right now. Though we should consider the best way to reduce our expenditures, we also need to consider how to increase or at least maintain our revenue going forward. Businesses pay the most significant portion into our general fund revenue in Cupertino, so we need to encourage, develop, and maintain the health of our businesses. As staff said in their report, the pandemic has underscored the need to have a comprehensive and coordinated approach to do this. Most other cities contract with chambers of commerce who share this mission. Working together greatly enhances these efforts. Partnering with the city of Cupertino would allow the city to refocus core functions of economic development and rely on the chamber to service local business audiences through specific tasks, which are listed in the staff report. The Chamber of Commerce is our local business expert, with over 200 members representing organizations that either directly employ or own and manage the facilities where people are employed. They're best suited to serve as this critical partner. And as, again, the staff report says, I love the staff report, to deepen the understanding of the needs and challenges faced by businesses, enabling the city to develop targeted initiatives and policies that support their growth. I encourage you to approve this agreement tonight without delay for the health of our city's businesses and for the health of our city's finances. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Next we have Louise Sadati, followed by Rhoda Fry, followed by Jennifer Griffin. Welcome, Louise.
Hello. I'm Louise Sadati, and thank you for your service. The Chamber of Commerce represents a collaboration of local businesses, nonprofit organizations, and community volunteers that are all directly participating in the health of our community. Historically, the Chamber, from its very beginning in the 1950s, worked with the business community to incorporate the city of Cupertino, and then to encourage business success to grow the city's sources of tax revenue. As a resident of almost 39 years, I urge you to approve item number 4 on the agenda to authorize the city manager to execute an agreement between the City of Cupertino and the Cupertino Chamber of Commerce for up to 5 years at an annual amount not to exceed $52,000. And basically, this agreement will make transparent a successful Chamber of Commerce partnership to create a healthy economy, generating taxes that pay for city services. I urge the council to approve this agreement, which will be a win-win for the City of Cupertino and the Cupertino Chamber. The Chamber's mission aligns with the city's goal to create an environment in which businesses can prosper. And this really, truly would be a win-win for the city and the chamber. I was very disheartened to see one of the city council members who walked off the dais twice rather than give the residents an opportunity to put questions to her for her being called out by the grand jury for her method of questioning the city staff. I see her tonight demonstrating the same behavior and being called out by the city attorney, and she still continued. So I would really like to ask the rest of the council members to really vote for this win-win partnership with the Chamber of Commerce rather than participating in this badgering and not producing a forward process and progress for the city. I urge the council to approve this agreement, which will be a win-win for the City of Cupertino and the Cupertino Chamber. They have worked with the city since before it was incorporated back in the 1950s. And the Chamber's mission aligns with the city goal and to create an environment which is positive, in which Cupertino and businesses can prosper. Thank you.
Thank you, Louise. Next we have Rhoda Fry, followed by Jennifer Griffin. Welcome, Rhoda.
Please read my comments on this item. The Chamber of Commerce does many good things for the community and has overlapping goals with the city's goals. However, there are also conflicts of interest. The Chamber's mission is to support its members, some of whom are not even within Cupertino. The Chamber supports proposed contracts for our water and garbage companies. So there too, there's a conflict. And the Chamber has been a staunch advocate of one of California's biggest air polluters, Lehigh. We've been here before with the city's funding a useless website at a cost of over $65,000. Even the Chamber's own website is out of date. The Chamber has directly supported the political campaigns of council members, another conflict of interest. So I disagree with the city attorney on this item, and I can provide you the information on that later. The Chamber already receives income and a number from other sources from our city's money, such as fee waivers, and they make money on festivals. Let's talk dollars and cents. If we want to recoup this expense, this initiative will have to generate $5.2 million in additional taxable sales. Given our past experiences and our economic situation, I am concerned about this new expense. I appreciate the detailed scope of work, and since you will likely approve this expense, I ask the following. 1, money is paid quarterly. 2, reports are provided to council quarterly. 3, contract is reevaluated at 6 months. 4, do not allow any political campaigns or organizations at any Cupertino subsidized festival and event. This will ensure a separation of the conflicts, the political conflicts of interest that we have seen for years. As you can tell, my support of this proposal is guarded. I do, however, agree with many of the comments that I've seen on the dais, and also of that of the chamber members. If you do support this proposal, please make sure it's done right and put in some safeguards to make sure that we can course correct if necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Rhoda. Our final speaker in Community Hall is Jennifer Griffin. Welcome, Jennifer.
Good evening, City Council. This has been a very interesting discussion. You can understand after 23 years, I've had a lot of dealings with the Chamber, with different administrations here. I support the Chamber. They have been very, very helpful. They have always tried to put the best foot forward for Cupertino. And therefore, I look at them as a very, very important advocate for the business community. I will tell you that personally, I would rather see a separation between the city and the Chamber. I did not vote for the Chamber people. I don't know who they are. For good or for ill, I voted for the 5 of you, and this is the 5 of you we have, and I therefore would prefer that city manners remain in the city. I will say that my mother's cousin is lifetime Rotary in a large city in North Carolina. Another member of the family has been a mayor of another large city in Virginia, and I'm very familiar with my mother's hometown's Chamber of Commerce, which primarily focuses on tourism in the Blue Ridge, Charlottesville, Monticello, etc. So, and I have worked with Chamber of Commerce in the past on some large projects in Cupertino, a hotel, etc., etc. So I think that it's good that we look at the Chamber as being a messenger of the business community. Now, I am concerned about any overlap with political. I did see political posturing in the last election. I would not like to see that if we do go forward with the Chamber being associated with Cupertino. That is not appropriate. Okay. And I will tell you right now, there is no way that my relative who's lifetime Rotary in North Carolina would ever stoop to go into politics. It is separate. The Chamber of Commerce of San Jose was very helpful. I have talked to them in the past over various issues. I'm concerned that Cupertino is a city. It has elected representatives and it has city business. Chamber of Commerce has an important role for business. I really don't know much about the Chamber. I was hoping tonight we would see someone come and describe what the Chamber does. I'm familiar with Rotary, etc. But I really, going forward, I would caution having too much interplay between the two. I don't feel comfortable, and definitely no political posturing. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. So we will move to Zoom. We have 6 hands that were raised before the 9-minute time limit. That's Rick Shepard, Claudio Bono, San R, and Rick Hitson, Glenn Fischler, and Tessa Parrish. Rick, welcome, Rick.
Kudos, to Councilwoman Kitty Moore for telling it like it is, for probing and asking the tough questions that staff won't even answer. I agree with her assessment that this item is fraught. Neighbor Rhoda Fry is right on regarding the political activity of the Chamber. The Chamber is an organization that has a well-focused agenda to advance the interests of its members, who are a very small percentage of all Cupertino businesses. Sometimes the interests of the members conflict with the interests of the larger community. Valco is an example. I urge you to reject an agreement until Council Member Moore's appropriate questions receive appropriate attention. And I encourage Mayor Way to stop neighbors like Louise Haddadi from straying off topic to berate council members. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Next we have Claudio Bono, followed by Sanar, followed by Rick Kitson. Welcome, Claudio.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Good evening, Mayor Way, Vice Mayor Mohan, City Council members, City Manager Wu, City Attorney Jensen, Madam Clerk, and staff. My name is Claudio Bono, and I'm speaking on behalf of myself tonight, and as a proud 10-year Cupertino resident. I'm sorry I'm currently in Texas right now. I'm signing an agreement so I can bring back more TOT taxes to our city. Also, to be honest with you, I'm going to share good news that I think that it's actually very important to share tonight. The Cupertino Hotel tonight, as well as surrounding hotels, we're sold out. We're completely have no rooms to give. So it's great. It's give us hope. So I wanted to share that news because I think that news needs to be shared, especially when they're positive. Now, I'd like to talk directly to all my fellow residents and anyone questioning this agenda item number 4. Please know that every Chamber of Commerce and cities around the world works hand in hand together. Nobody here is reinventing the wheels. Other cities even have over 300,000 agreements, blah, blah, blah. And we're supposed to be Silicon Valley. So this agreement is standard in accordance to other cities, and it's particularly good for Cupertino. Now, thousands of residents know me personally, and they know I speak from the heart when I say this. If residents don't know or don't understand what any Chamber of Commerce does, that's okay. Ask me. Let's not diminish the importance of this agreement. I think it's more than necessary. I think it's time, if you ask me. As the immediate past president, I am seriously available to meet with any resident or city council member wanting to know more. Knowledge is good, and I'm happy to share. Just know that this agreement is so important for so many reasons, but because of time constraint here, I'm only going to say one: ribbon cuttings. Just know that it saved the city tons of money. And as a businessman, I'm telling my fellow resident and city council that if the city was doing it on its own, it would cost way more money. So cheers to savings. So let's codify this agreement and let's move forward with what makes sense. Keep in mind, 52,000, if we had to pay someone 52,000 in Cupertino, I don't know how they would live, but also everyone needs to understand that we don't pay benefits on that. Insurance, overtime, and it does take a village to organize an event, not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I say it takes a village to organize events that we do pull in Cupertino. So this agreement saves money to begin with, and it lists all the terms, etc. So I welcome it, and I truly believe this is the right thing to do for Cupertino. And so I urge the City Council to approve this agreement, and I'm hopeful you all going to vote yes on this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Claudio. Next we have San R, followed by Rick Kitson, followed by Glenn Fischler. Welcome, San.
Hello, Mayor V and council members. I want to firstly bring out that the discussion has been on a binary choice of either having the city perform these functions or have the chamber perform these functions. I have not heard any discussion so far about opening this up for a bid so that you can get independent, non-chamber affiliated organizations that can bid for the scope of work and to select the most competent and most cost-effective bidder that can perform the scope of work that is being sought. There are a number of marketing firms that will gladly bid for the scope of work and will efficiently conduct what you're looking for if the goal is to outsource the work and not to perform it within the city staff. Secondly, I would like to bring up that the council members kindly disclose if you were endorsed by this organization, if you received campaign funding from this organization, if you received campaign funding from either the leadership team or the board of director members of this organization, and if so, to kindly recuse yourself from participating in this decision tonight. There is a number of organizations represented by members on the board of directors of this organization, such as Recology, San Jose Water, a number of restaurants that have funded campaigns for certain council members, as well as members that previously contested elections and may have won or lost. Providing for a relationship with such an organization having political and activism roots in terms of campaign funding and endorsements places a unequal access to those that have been endorsed and supported, and distances others that have not been endorsed and have taken positions in the past. Further, I wish to bring to your attention this organization charges for membership. The lowest cost that is charged is $395. The highest cost runs into thousands of dollars. Small businesses in Cupertino count every dollar and penny and cannot afford to pay even the lowest cost membership charge. Requiring to work with this organization places them at a potential disadvantage compared to those that are members of this organization. I also want to point out that this scope of the terms that are offered include free membership for the city of Cupertino to this organization. And by offering free membership to the city, it provides unequal access to city staff or whoever may attend this organization to the members of this organization that are paid. So there are a number of troubling conflicts of interest here. I request all council members to recuse yourselves.
Thank you, Sam.
If there
That
is
is your
any
time.
potential.
Next, we have Rick Kitson, followed by Glenn Fischler, followed by Tessa Parrish. Welcome, Rick.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Good evening, Madam Mayor, fellow honorable council members. My name is Rick Kitson. I'm the current executive director for the Cupertino Chamber of Commerce. I'm struggling a little bit just because of the amount of misunderstanding and misrepresentation about who we are and what we do. Most recently, the most recent speaker was talking about membership levels. In fact, the lowest level is $150, and for nonprofits, it's $220. It's been that way for quite some time. So I understand that there's preconceived notions about what we do and who we are, but I can tell you that in Cupertino, as in most cities, business taxes pay the largest portion of general fund revenue. That's really important to keep in mind. Because of this, all of the cities around us work closely with their chambers of commerce to encourage, develop, and maintain their local economies. The city of Cupertino has gone through many ups and downs. There's some significant and difficult discussions later on tonight. And during most of that time, the city has worked with the chamber to serve as a critical partner in economic health. We're not competitors. These goals are aligned. We're all in the same boat together. Cities contact with their local chambers because cities are the organizations that most directly benefit from chamber efforts. Let me say that again. Cities are the organizations that most directly benefit from chamber efforts. A local business can choose whether or not to join the chamber. A local business cannot choose whether or not to pay its taxes. So a successful chamber creates a healthy economy and generates taxes which pay for city services. The chamber is an essential part of this local economy, and I think facing the very difficult challenges that we have ahead, we're going to be able to move this mountain much further, much more quickly when we're working together than if we try to do it alone. Unlike outside consulting firms, the chamber represents a collaboration of local businesses and nonprofit organizations and community volunteers, and they're all directly committed and participating in the health of our economy. The chamber is not a consultant working to comply with contracted performance standards. We are a local network of organizations and people working to make sure that Cupertino works. We have an extraordinary team. I support approval of this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. And next we have Glenn Fischler, followed by Tessa Parrish. Welcome, Glenn.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Way, Vice Mayor Mohan, council members, and city staff. My name is Glenn Fischler, and I'm representing myself. I'm a longtime Cupertino resident. I had not planned on speaking tonight, but when I listened to the discussions on this topic, I decided to call in. I'm speaking specifically about item 4 on your agenda, the proposed contract between the city and the Chamber of Commerce. I'm surprised that this discussion is not a simpler one. It seems to me it's a no-brainer, so I'm going to make it short and sweet. I am 100% in support of this and urge you to support it and approve it tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Glenn. And our final speaker will be Tessa Parrish. Welcome, Tessa.
Hi, good evening, and council staff. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I too wasn't going to speak until I heard a couple of comments. So first of all, I think the chamber does great work. I've seen them at work in different cities. I was disappointed when I got the campaign supporting a couple of members that are now in the council. I thought that was biased. You know, accountability has been a big issue. What's going to be done to keep them accountable from not being biased or from being biased? I don't appreciate that, because if the city's using city funds to pay for something that all should benefit, they should not take sides on who they support. The residents should do that. Otherwise, it becomes businesses against residents. And I don't think that's a good policy, because it can divide the city. So if the city is using a city fund, then in response to someone mentioning specifically the two council members that left, it would behoove you to consider that if the DA was being spoken of and possibly sent to them, which they did send it to the DA, it became a legal matter, and everyone knows you want to not speak unless you have your attorney, unless you've gotten counsel. So let me just let everybody know who's thinking that they should have stayed there. They should not, because when it got referred, anything that said could have been used against them. So just keep that in mind for future, any other further attacks. So if we want to move forward, I would really appreciate if everyone did actually move forward, not making an attack. I would like to see the chamber supported, but with a little more accountability. The website, as mentioned, for that amount of money, a teenager could do better. And I'm afraid, I'm not trying to offend anybody. It's just accountability, definitely. Let's put that in there. And let's think of a good policy to not have everyone upset about it. I think they could do great work, and I think they could be not biased and move forward for real. Thank you.
Thank you, Tessa. Mayor, that was our final speaker.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. I'm going to close the public comment period, and I want to thank everyone. We all care about city, so every comment is important, and I would encourage all of our council members to have an open mind. And now I am going to open up for discussions. 5 minutes, please, because we are in a sort of a time crunch. Council member, I'm not so sure whose slide came first. I'll let Council Member Moore come first.
All right, thank you. I'm going to start with, there were some statements about where our funds come from. Sales tax for Cupertino for our current budget is expected at $11,428,000. Property tax, 3 times that, $31,736,000. Transient occupancy expected about $7.5 million, and the numbers continue to get lower from there. So our largest revenue source is property tax in Cupertino by a long distance. The Chamber of Commerce is a 501c6. I'm going to quote the IRS. The type of tax exemption determines whether an organization may endorse candidates for public office. For example, Section 501c3 organizations may not publish or distribute printed statements or make oral statements on behalf of or in opposition to a candidate for public office. Consequently, a written or oral endorsement of a candidate is strictly forbidden. On the other hand, a Section 501c6 organization may engage in political campaigns provided that such activities are not the organization's primary activity. So I continue to have that concern that I heard no assurances at all that we were not going to be having campaigning by the chamber. No one said that. No one said that would stop, and I find that divisive. Now, my other concern, and I will mention that several months ago I was looking at the Sunnyvale Chamber of Commerce and I gave them a call, and they said they do not endorse candidates because they could back candidates which don't get elected and then have to work with electeds that they did not support. I think that was a smart idea on their part, and I'm not hearing anything like that here. I'm also gravely concerned about having chamber members like Apple, Valco the Rise, Recology, and San Jose Water, whom we have contracts with. So I'm concerned that we're going to have activism continue regarding these contracts where the members come up and they are supporting their fellow chamber members, which that's what they do. It's a membership organization. I remain unconvinced that the city needs to form this contract. It is fraught with uncertainty. Thank you.
Councilmember Chow?
First of all, for the record, this particular item is not on this year's 2022-2023 work program or the proposed work program for next year. Therefore, this item does not follow the May 9th Council recommendation to follow the work program. This is a fact. Second of all, for the record, every statement Councilmember Moore made earlier was accurate, except that she was not clear on which actions were taken by the chamber PAC versus chamber. But most Cupertino residents do equate chamber PAC with chamber. To argue they are different is a matter of opinion. Third of all, for the record, Councilmember Fruin, Councilmember Mohan, and Mayor Wei were all endorsed by chamber for their campaign for council. This is a fact. These council members have likely received campaign donations from board members of the chamber. I'd like to ask you whether you, in good conscience, could vote to support this contract. In this year's budget, the city is cutting other community grants by half. The city is scrapping bottoms for all the other programs for seniors, for families, and for teens. And yet this item was brought forward right before we will vote on this year's budget. Very curious timing. Chamber provides essential services to businesses. No doubt about that. Partnerships are important. No doubt about that. But the questions here today is not whether we should partner with Chamber or whether we appreciate Chamber's services. We do, we certainly do. The question is whether the city, which is under unprecedented budget crisis, should be paying the Chamber by the hour to provide programs which they are already providing in the past and will continue to provide with their member fees, and then should city be paying for them for the programs the city were able to manage to provide even with part-time economic development manager in the past. Back in 2018, the city had only one assistant city manager who also doubled as the director of community and development for quite a few years. I wish the very capable city manager would have found ways to manage the workload of the newly promoted Tina Kapoor to continue as economic development manager before we recruit a new manager, rather than resorting to a costly contract to pay for Chamber to do things they already do for their own members. With this contract, very likely the city will be paying by the hour for the Chamber to expand its own membership, which is their main mission, on public taxpayer dollars. From the research done by the staff on other cities, no other city is paying their Chamber like the kind described in our agreement. Like Santosh suggested, we should put this out for bid if there is indeed a need for such services. We all deserve to not politicize. We all desire to not politicize the council meetings. Contracting with a politically neutral organization is a step towards having a neutral environment. If this item moves forward, I'd like to require that the contract comes back to the council for renewal after 1 year. Thank you.
Do we have discussions from other council members?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mohan, please.
Just to make everything clear, this is a $52,000 contract in a $117 million budget. So it's not a huge amount in terms of the cost. The $52,000 also represents a very small, probably about 1/3 of a cost of a comparable position in the city. So we're getting a list of services for a very comparable and sum of money. In addition, we have built-in safeguards, as one of the members of the public mentioned, safeguards to make sure that the city funds are spent well, and that we have privy to the efforts that the Chamber of Commerce is putting in its efforts to fulfill its obligations that are detailed in the contract. We have a sales tax challenge. We are facing extreme shortfalls in terms of sales tax and other revenues. We need to exert every substantial effort we can to bring businesses back into the city. We cannot just sit back and expect that businesses are just going to walk in and walk into our city. We need to market ourselves. We need to get the message out there that we want businesses to move in. We want them to feel welcomed, because we know that their success is our success. For this to happen, all our partners need to exert every possible effort. The Chamber of Commerce is a key partner in this, and they have extensive ties to the community. And I cannot think of anyone else who would do a better job of going out there and bringing in business, which is the key thing that we need for this year and years to come. We've also stated clearly that this is a 1-year contract. We have periodic performance evaluations, and we protected ourselves. If things go really badly, we have ways to pull back on the contract. So $52,000 for a 1-year contract with frequent check-ins is reasonable, realistic, and the prudent thing to do for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Chow, Vice Mayor Mohan. And Councilmember Froon, do you have anything we would like to say?
Yeah, I'll be brief. I largely concur with everything that the Vice Mayor has just said. And I want to underscore for really everybody that the Chamber has a wealth of historical and institutional knowledge that we in the city at this point are lacking because of staff turnover. We are very fortunate in being able to potentially contract with the Chamber in particular because their executive director used to work for the city for many, many years as our information officer. I've known Rick Kitson for a number of years. I think that between him and the rest of the team that they will be very, very capable of creating synergies for us, and that we will be able to identify going forward through the action of the scope of work in this contract to be able to figure out how best we can amplify that relationship in the future. What things can we do well as a city on our own? What things can the Chamber function as an added benefit for? So I look forward to restoring our relationship with the Chamber. I look forward to, frankly, us ending what feels like an unwarranted war on our civil society in the city of Cupertino. So I will be very happy to support the contract as written.
Thank you, Councilmember Froon. I think I'd like to take my 5 minutes to say a few things. When I say I take public comments very seriously, I do. I'm going to say 3 people who commented. One is, please don't tell half-truth. The second is, please don't campaign on the dais. The third is, am I comfortable voting for this being endorsed by the Chamber, both 2018 and 2020? I'm going to answer those 3 questions. Half-truths. I have to say my name is being thrown around, and this is the 3rd time Councilmember Moore said that I accepted $120,000 from the Chamber in campaign. So I like to say, let's not campaign on the dais. I am not going to. But just check my FPBC. On both 2018 and 2020, the Chamber has not donated money to my campaign. So I want to say half-truths is not truth. That's the first thing I would like to say. Second, I take that public comment very seriously, that am I comfortable doing it? Chamber that did or does endorse candidates. Sierra Club does. Real Estate Agents Association does. Walk Back Cupertino does. And I believe Better Cupertino does. So there are many, many organizations that endorse candidates. And I think all candidates would really like to be endorsed, whether it's because they are, their platform coincides with what the organization's wishes. But does that mean if Sierra Club is advocating for something that I've been endorsed by Sierra Club both years, that I need to recuse myself? I really don't think so. There are organizations, maybe they do have their purpose. Sierra Club is for environmental protection. Chamber is for their business and also for business thriving in our city. So I do believe I am very comfortable voting for a $52,000 contract. It's not going to affect whether I be endorsed by Chamber or not. The third thing is, I really want to say, let's move forward. Yes, there are a lot of things that we studied already, how the chambers and the city did not have a written contract. Yes, we're moving for written contract. How the chamber may have done things that have not endorsed certain candidates, and I hope our council members who were not endorsed by the chamber doesn't do this because of that. We are here to do things for our city, for our residents. Let's take us together, move forward. There are things that are not as ideal in the past, but I have full trust in our staff and our city manager that they are going to bring quality service partnership with our local organizations. This is not the first organization that the city will partner. I'm really hoping that the city will partner with many, many organizations in our city and around in our community. A chamber who also helps other business in other cities because we are in the same region. Business helps cities, and city brings service to the business, and business brings service to the residents. A business that brings service to the residents is very important to the residents. So I am going to answer those 3 questions, okay? Let's not talk about half-truth. Let's not campaign on the dais, and I'm comfortable with voting on this, and let's move forward and make sure that this contract is transparent, that it will answer to our council members' questions, that we are comfortable in the performance of it. That, yes, I will ask the staff and city manager to be responsible for, because that's the contract we're going to vote on. So I'm hoping that we can all move forward and not dwell on the past. As for timing, this is the time we need to work on economic development. Our city are going to have housing elements. We are going to have more retails coming in. I think working with the chamber at this moment is very, very important. One economic development manager is not going to be handle that. Partnership with not just the chamber, even with our other businesses in other cities is very important. So I'm hoping we can trust our staff that this is going to be a good contract. They are going to be transparent. They are going to be responsible for bringing the $50,000 worth that bring back to the city. Maybe it's probably sales tax is not the most biggest money, but serving to our residents by businesses is also very important. So I am going to stop here. Thank you.
Through the mayor, I believe I still have some time left.
Actually, yes, you do. 2 minutes 30 seconds, please.
Okay, so I just want to quickly clarify. This is from the Cupertino Chamber of Commerce PAC. This is a summary of expenditures supporting or opposing candidates. So this is in support of Hung Wei. We've got about 30,000 here, 30,000, 30,000, and another 30,000. So when I say that the Cupertino Chamber of Commerce supported Mayor Wei, there's that evidence. And then going back, we can see they opposed Stephen Scharf, Liang Chao. Going back, we can also find that who some of their financial support was coming from. So I just want to clarify.
Thank you. And I think I have 5 seconds. I like to say, let's not dwell on half-truths.
That is a Schedule A. That's their California Form 460. Okay. One thing that
Charles says, PAC
I
and
have the
Chamber
floor.
is not. Yes, go ahead,
Thank
please.
you.
I'm sorry.
Okay. So, as I said before, one of the things I did not hear were assurances that we were not going to have continued endorsements and campaigning by the Chamber of Commerce. And there isn't a separation in the scope of work that, or some kind of assurance in there that that's not going to continue. I'm also concerned by something that one of the members of the public said, and that's with regards to putting this out to bid. And I know we have another agenda item that's come to council because it's over a certain dollar amount, and I would like to have that understood by the council whether or not this actually should be put out to bid. And I would like to close with my serious concerns about these contracts which we have with the members of the chamber. And because they do, as I said before, that they advocate for their members, and I'm concerned that we could potentially be pressured when it's time for us to sign contracts by their members, and I would like to have some assurance that that's not going to be happening. Thank you.
Okay, if we have no more, Councilmember Froon, I think you have about 4 minutes.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to clarify for the sake of the public's knowledge that, you know, there is a very significant difference between the exercise of First Amendment rights on the part of organizations and individuals who choose to spend money independently on a campaign. That is not a contribution to an individual's campaign fund. So in the instance that was just shown to you, that is the chamber choosing to spend the money through its own political action committee. That is not the chamber itself, that is a different entity. And so I think that in the spirit of the issue of half-truths, it's important that we acknowledge that there's a significant difference between an entity spending money to put forward its own message and an actual contribution to a candidate's campaign committee. There were no contributions there to any campaign committee of another candidate.
Okay, Councilmember Chow, you have 30 seconds.
I'd like to point out ACLU has a 501c4 advocacy arm, but also a 501c3 charitable arm. The same is true for Planned Parenthood. Many organizations have two arms. No one would say that they are not the same organization. They are the same. They just have different, from different organizations for different purpose, but they are under one umbrella for most people's consideration. So you can argue they are the same, you can argue they are different. It's called a chamber PAC. It was started by people who came from chamber, and that's the fact. Thank you.
I think we finished with our discussion. May I have a motion?
I move to authorize the city manager to execute an agreement with between the City of Cupertino and the Cupertino Chamber of Commerce for up to 5 years at an annual amount not to exceed $52,000.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I have two. Oh, okay. I have a light coming on. I do believe the discussion is over.
I am willing to consider a 1-year contract, but 1-year contract only, and it will come back to the council for renewal.
Would you like to make a friendly amendment,
So,
Councilmember Chow?
Is that an amendment or?
You can do a substitute motion, or you can do a friendly amendment. It's up to you.
Okay, I'll try a friendly amendment first.
Please state your friendly amendment.
That it be a 1-year contract only, because with renewal, then when it doesn't need to come back to the council. I think just make it clean and clear. This is a 1-year contract, and we'll reevaluate in 1 year.
By the council, you mean?
By the council, yes.
Okay, that is a friendly amendment. I need the motion and a second to accept or deny.
Okay, so I would like to.
Councilmember Moore?
Yes, I would like to second that. However, I'm concerned about, there was a mention that.
You can't second it because you're not
yet.
a motion and
Okay.
second. Yeah, you can do a substitute motion if you want.
Okay,
so first we need to ask the previous motion.
Right, I'm asking.
To see if they accept the
Vice Mayor Mohan made the
amendment.
motion, and Councilmember
If
Froon.
not, then I'll turn that into a motion.
Right.
Yeah.
Councilmember Froon seconded it, so I'm asking both of them, do they accept the friendly amendment? Councilmember Froon, I guess you can go first. Oh, Councilmember, Vice Mayor Mohan. No. Okay, Vice Mayor Mohan says no.
No.
Okay, so there is no friendly amendment. I'm open for.
So that's then a motion.
Councilmember Chow, you like to
Especially
make a
since I
substitute
think
motion?
a substitute motion
Okay.
for a 1-year contract, so we come back and review the need for this contract and whether we should go out for bid.
Okay, so we have a substitute motion. Do we have a second?
Yes, I would like to modify that. However,
A friendly amendment.
Yes, under item 1, technical assistance, and well, actually, for all of these reporting requirements, because there was mention made that it didn't matter if a business was in the chamber or not, that they were all going to be serviced. So I would like that reporting to also reflect how many non-chamber businesses were serviced per this scope of work, because we have over 2,500 licensed businesses versus about 200 in the chamber within Cupertino. Do you accept that as an amendment?
Yes, sure.
Okay, thank you. So
Okay,
I second that with the.
We have a substitute motion that's being made and seconded. Madam City Clerk, did you get the friendly amendment
Yes,
or the
I did,
second?
Mayor,
Alrighty.
yes.
So if there are
Can
no.
make a comment about this motion?
Sure.
So I'd like to encourage my colleagues on the council to consider this motion. This is essentially the same as the primary motion of 5 years. However, since this is the first ever done, and as collaborative council, I would like to encourage you to support this motion, and we can come back together again next year, collaboratively consider if this could be continued, then we can continue it. Thank you.
Okay, so one question I'd like to ask City Manager Wu is, this $52,000 contract, is it within your purview to renew it?
Yes.
So, okay, thank you. I would like to place my trust in our staff that they can handle this, but they will do clear reports to us. So we have a substitute motion. Let's vote by light on the substitute motion with the friendly amendment.
The substitute motion as amended fails with Chow and Moore voting yes.
Okay,
City Clerk, just to be sure, so the motion, I want to put it on the record, include...
Your mic is
Yeah,
not
you-
on.
Sorry. I just want to put it on the meeting record. The motion include to put it out for bid in 1 year, right?
Yes, I did
Yes.
include that,
Okay.
Councilmember Chow. Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion that's being made by Vice Mayor Mohan, second by Councilmember Froon. And any quick comments
Yeah, just very quickly, if there is something that we discover in the course of quarterly reporting or any other reporting that the city manager provides to us in one-on-ones and so forth, there is no reason that we cannot ask for an agenda item in the future on the topic. So I think we can solve that problem.
Thank you. Very quick comment, please.
Have a question. So in the course of a year, or maybe before or at the end of the year, if there is concern with the performance and reporting of activities, and then we would like to stop the contract, what would be the procedure? I would like to know first.
I'd have to look at the termination provision of the contract, but I could certainly follow up on that.
So I just want to make a quick comment. I do believe this contract will be reevaluated in 1 year. So
just to be clear, there is a 1 year renewal period. I think I thought I interpreted the question as what if we wanted to terminate it earlier than that, and I would need to look at that.
So let's say after 1 year, and it sounds like it only needs city manager approval. It won't come back for the council for approval to renew.
That's the way the contract is drafted, correct?
Right. So it likely might not come back to the council for 5 years.
Okay, I think that's a quick question, and it's been confirmed. So my really quick comment is...
And then my question is then, okay, if that's the case, then my earlier question wasn't answered, is in case the council was not satisfied and would like to stop after 1 year, what's the process?
I think the process was suggested that this be brought back to council as an agenda item prior to the expiration of that 1 year period.
That would be how long before the end of the contract? I just want to be clear.
That would be at the city manager and mayor's discretion.
It's not in the contract that maybe we need to notify them like 30 days before the end?
There may be a notice period, yeah, but I'm sure we could accommodate that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, my one quick comment is, again, I think we have a trust issue with our staff. I do believe our staff is not going to renew a really bad contract that's bad performed without notifying our city council. So I'm going to make that clear. I have full confidence in our staff. We bring transparency and good reports into the council. The staff do not want to work against the council and be a really staff that said they just are performing really bad contracts. I want to say, let's trust our staff that they can be transparent, be responsible to the council, to the residents, and do a good job. If the chamber does not perform a good job, I'm positive our city manager or our assistant deputy city manager or our to be appointed economic development manager will alert the council. So that is my final comment. So if there are no comments, I would like to, Councilmember Moore, a quick comment, please.
Yes. So we could have avoided all of this discussion if the chamber had gone to their very deep-pocketed members such as Apple and Recology and San Jose Water. And I wish that is what had happened, but it's not. And so here we are. Thank you.
Okay, so let's vote by light, please.
Motion carries with Chow and Moore voting no.
I would like to take a 5-minute recess before we go into action item. Thank you.